The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Earth ship Intrepid. Captain John Miller stood with his hands behind his back, watching the strange alien vessels approach. After years of searching the skies, humanity had finally found others among the stars. "They're hailing us again, Captain," said Communications Officer Samantha Green. Her voice was steady, but her fingers tapped nervously on her console. "Put them through," John said. He straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. The screen lit up with the image of a tall, blue-skinned alien. Ambassador Gentall of the Valari had an elegant head crest that moved slightly as she spoke. "Captain Miller of Earth," she said. Her translator made her voice sound musical. "The Galactic Concord welcomes you to join us for further talks." John nodded respectfully. "We are honored by your invitation, Ambassador." After the call ended, John turned to his second-in-command. "What do you think, Dr. Nguyen?" Lisa Nguyen was Earth's best xenobiologist. She had spent the last 6 months studying the 17 alien species that made up the Galactic Concord. "They're still testing us," she said. "They think we're strange." "Strange how?" John asked. "They think we're too careful, too afraid." Lisa showed him her tablet. "Look at their history. When other species discovered space travel, they rushed to claim new worlds. We set up safety protocols and quarantine procedures first." "That's just common sense," John said with a frown. The next day, the human team sat in a large meeting room aboard the Concorde's main station. Representatives from all 17 alien species watched them with curious eyes. "Humans," said General Cragg, a large reptilian alien from the Dorzak species. "Your ships have weapons, yet you claim to come in peace. You have the technology to claim many worlds, yet you expand slowly. Why?" John leaned forward. "We believe in careful progress. History has taught us that rushing can lead to disaster." The room filled with strange sounds, alien laughter. "The humans prepare for problems that don't exist," said a small furry delegate. Ambassador Gentall raised her hand for silence. "This is why we find your species fascinating, Captain Miller. You achieve space travel, yet you act as if danger lurks behind every star." John felt his face grow warm. "We call it being prepared, Ambassador." Later, back on their ship, John shared drinks with his team. "They think we're cowards," he said, his voice low. Lisa shook her head. "Let them think that. Our caution comes from wisdom, not fear." Officer Green joined them. "I heard the Valari military leaders joking about our first contact protocols. They said we'd probably scan a handshake for germs before accepting it." "We would," said John with a small smile. "And that's why we'd survived." The next 3 months were filled with meetings. The Concorde shared knowledge about thousands of worlds and advanced technologies beyond human imagination. In return, the humans shared their culture, art, and history. But always, there was that undercurrent of judgment. The other species had bold stories of conquest and discovery. The humans had careful tales of measured progress. "Your species will hold a probationary membership," Ambassador Gentall announced at the final meeting. "You may attend council sessions but may not vote for one Earth year." John nodded. "We accept these terms." As they left the chamber, an Eridani representative approached them. The silicon-based life form had crystal-like sensory organs that shimmered in the light. "Do not be discouraged by their words," the Eridani said quietly. "Some of us appreciate your caution. In our long history, we have seen what happens when species move too quickly." John extended his hand, then remembered the Eridani custom and bowed instead. "Thank you for your kindness." That night, as John sent his report back to Earth, he added a personal note. "They call us cowards because we look before we leap. But I believe the day will come when they'll be grateful for our caution. For now, we watch and learn. And yes, we prepare, because whatever waits out there in the darkness of space, humanity will be ready." 6 months passed since Earth joined the Galactic Concord. Humans were learning about alien cultures, technologies, and star charts. But not everything was going smoothly. Commander Alan Parker sat in his small office at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. Red lights blinked on his screen. For 3 weeks, strange energy readings had appeared at the edge of Concord space. "These patterns are not natural," he told his team. "Run the analysis again." Officer Molly Edwards nodded. "I've checked it 7 times, sir. The energy pulses happen exactly 12 hours apart. Nature doesn't work like that." Alan rubbed his tired eyes. "The Concord needs to know." 2 days later, Alan stood before the Concord Security Council. The large room held representatives from all 17 species. Most looked bored. "These energy signatures are organized and moving with purpose," Alan explained, pointing to his charts. "They don't match anything in our shared databases." General Cragg of the Dorzak species let out a loud snort. "Humans see danger in every shadow. This is why you are still children in the galaxy." Others in the room laughed. Ambassador Gentall raised her elegant blue hand for quiet. "Commander Parker," she said, "our scientists have studied these readings. They are simply gas clouds interacting with solar radiation." Alan shook his head. "With respect, Ambassador, gas clouds don't move in perfect patterns. These energy signatures are getting stronger and moving closer to Concord space." "Your species has barely left its home system," said a furry Nexian delegate. "Perhaps you should leave space monitoring to those with more experience." After the meeting, Alan packed his charts with angry movements. A soft voice spoke behind him. "Your concerns may have merit, human." Alan turned to see an Eridani, the crystal-like being moved closer. "I am Silra," the Eridani said. "My species has the longest memory in the Concord. Our archives contain similar readings from an ancient conflict." Alan's heart beat faster. What kind of conflict? "One that nearly destroyed all life in this sector," Xilra said quietly. "But the others do not wish to remember uncomfortable history." Back on the Earth ship Intrepid, Captain John Miller called an emergency meeting with his crew. "The Concord won't listen," Alan explained to the group. "They think we're being paranoid again." Dr. Lisa Nguyen tapped her fingers on the table. "So what do? We can't force them to take action." John looked at each person in the room. "We take our own action." Quietly. The next day, John sent an encrypted message to Earth Alliance Command. Admiral Susan Wright received it in her office with a grim face. "Redirect Explorer ships 3, 7, and 9 to these coordinates," she ordered her aide. "Full stealth protocols. Tell them to establish a monitoring perimeter around this region." "Won't the Concord see this as going behind their back?" her aide asked. "Better to ask forgiveness than permission," Susan replied. "If it's nothing, no one needs to know. If it's something..." She didn't finish her sentence. On the edge of Concord space, 3 human ships took positions in a wide triangle. They shut down all non-essential systems and floated silently, watching the strange energy patterns grow stronger each day. Captain Eric Ramirez of the Explorer 7 recorded a log entry, Day 4 of monitoring. "The energy signals are now 30% stronger than when we arrived. Something is building out there. I've never seen readings like these." His science officer, Diane Wells, entered his small office. Her face was pale. "Captain, we just intercepted a strange transmission," she said. "It's not in any known language, but it shows signs of intelligence. Complex patterns, mathematical sequences." Eric studied the data on her tablet. "Someone is talking out there." "Or something," Diane said quietly. Back at the Concord headquarters, John Miller sat through another boring meeting about trade routes. His private communication device buzzed in his pocket. The message from Admiral Wright was just 3 words. "You were right." John looked across the table at the alien delegates, all arguing about shipping taxes. None of them knew that at the edge of their space, something ancient and dangerous was waking up. He thought about warning them again, but knew they wouldn't listen. So instead, he sent a message back to the Admiral. "Prepare Earth Defense Plan Alpha. We'll need to be ready when it comes. Captain Eric Ramirez of Explorer 7 was eating breakfast when alarms blared through his ship. "Captain, to the bridge," the speaker called. Eric ran to the command center where his crew stared at their screens with wide eyes. "What's happening?" he asked. Officer Diane Wells pointed to the main screen. "The energy readings just spiked. Something's coming through." The black emptiness of space tore open like a wound. Strange ships poured out, hundreds of them. They were unlike anything Eric had seen before. They looked part machine, part living creature, with hulls that pulsed like beating hearts. "Send emergency signal to Earth and the Concorde," Eric ordered. "All stealth protocols off. Maximum power to engines. We need to warn everyone." But it was too late. The strange ships moved incredibly fast. 3 of them surrounded Explorer 7. "They're scanning us," Diane said, her voice shaking. A bright beam shot from one of the alien ships. Explorer 7 shuddered as systems failed across the board. "Send the message," Eric shouted as the lights flickered. "Tell them they're coming." Across Concorde space, similar scenes played out. The strange fleet split into 3 groups, heading for major worlds. They moved through unknown subspace corridors, bypassing all defense systems. On the Valari homeworld, citizens looked up to see their sky filled with the biomechanical ships. Defense forces scrambled but were quickly overwhelmed. The same happened on Dorzak 4 and in the Eridani system. Within hours, 3 major Concorde worlds were under attack. The Concorde fleet, spread thin across the galaxy, could barely respond. On Earth, Dr. Frank Collins watched the reports come in. As head of the Extraterrestrial Threat Assessment Division, he had spent years planning for this exact scenario. "It's happening just as we predicted," he told his team as they gathered in the emergency bunker. "Their ships are organic mechanical hybrids. That's why our normal scans didn't detect them clearly." He pointed to footage from the attacks. "See how they pulsate. They're vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies." Admiral Susan Wright entered the room. Her face was grim. "The Concorde is calling an emergency meeting. 3 worlds have fallen already." In the Concorde emergency chamber, chaos reigned. Representatives shouted over each other. Some wept openly. Ambassador Carol Martinez of Earth stood calmly in the center of the storm. When she finally spoke, her clear voice cut through the noise. "Earth Alliance has been developing defensive capabilities based on precisely this scenario," she said. "We request immediate command authority to coordinate a counteroffensive." The room fell silent. Then Supreme Commander Zorn of the Valari laughed bitterly. "You expect us to place our military under human control?" he asked. "Your species has barely left its home system." Carol didn't flinch. "With respect, Commander, your approach has already failed. 3 worlds have fallen because the Concorde ignored our warnings." A messenger burst into the room. "Urge's system is under attack. That's 4. Carol looked at the shocked faces around her. "The choice now is between pride and survival." The Eridani representative, Silra, stood. "I support the human proposal. Our archives call these invaders the Nexus Collective. They consume neural matter, sentient brains, to grow their hive mind. They have returned after 50,000 years." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Fear replaced anger. The Valari commander struggled visibly, his pride battling with desperation. Finally, he nodded slightly. "What do you propose, human?" he asked. Carol activated a holographic display showing battle plans already prepared by Earth Alliance. "Operation Backstop," she said. "Our ships are already moving into position. They carry weapons specifically designed to disrupt biomechanical systems." On screens around the chamber, feeds showed Earth ships jumping into action. They had been waiting just outside the fallen systems, ready to move. "You were prepared all along," whispered Ambassador Gental, her voice a mixture of shock and respect. Carol nodded. "Being cautious isn't the same as being cowardly. We hoped we were wrong, but we planned as if we were right." As the human fleet engaged the Nexus ships, the other species finally understood. What they had mocked as human paranoia might be the only thing that could save them all. Captain Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiant. Through the view screen, he watched the Nexus-collected ships move in perfect formation. They looked like giant insects made of metal and flesh. "They expect us to attack head-on," Jack said to his crew. "That's what the other Concord species tried. We won't make the same mistake." Beside him stood a nervous Villari officer named Krell. The blue-skinned alien had been sent to observe the human tactics, but Jack knew he was really there to report back to his superiors. "Your ship is small," Krell said. "How can you hope to defeat them when our largest battleships failed?" Jack smiled. "Sometimes the smallest knife is more dangerous than the biggest sword, especially when you know where to cut." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare EM pulse weapons. Target their communication nodes first." The Defiant moved silently toward the Nexus fleet, using nearby asteroids for cover. Two other human ships, the Daring and the Bold, approached from different angles. "Now," Jack ordered. All three human ships fired at once, not with regular weapons, but with specially designed electromagnetic pulses. The energy waves hit the Nexus ships, disrupting their systems. The enemy ships shuddered and broke formation. "Their ships are organic mechanical hybrids," Jack explained to the amazed Krell. "Disrupt their electrical systems, and you disrupt their ability to think as one." The human fleet attacked the confused enemy with smaller, faster ships. They darted between the larger Nexus vessels, hitting weak points and retreating before the enemy could respond. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Commander Patricia Reed coordinated the complex battle from Operation Backstop's command center. Screens around her showed human ships fighting across multiple star systems. "The Nexus adapts quickly," she reported to Admiral Susan Wright. "Each time we use a tactic, we can only use it twice before they figure it out." Susan nodded. "That's why we prepared 15 different attack strategies. Keep rotating through them." On the front lines, the first victory came at Taw City Colony. A human-led fleet successfully pushed back the Nexus forces. The aliens retreated, leaving behind damaged ships. Dr. Lisa Nguyen was the first to board a captured Nexus vessel. In her protective suit, she moved carefully through the strange corridors. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. "This isn't just a ship," she reported back. "It's alive, or partly alive. And look at these chambers." Her camera showed rows of tank-like structures. Inside each one was a grayish substance that looked like brain tissue. "They're harvesting neural matter," Lisa said, her voice filled with horror. "They're taking the brains of the species they capture and using them to grow their collective intelligence." This news spread quickly through the Concord leadership. The war wasn't just about territory, it was about survival itself. The Nexus wanted to consume the minds of every intelligent being in the galaxy. In the second week of fighting, human ships led a daring raid to free prisoners from a Nexus processing station. Captain Kelly Rodriguez and her team of mixed-species soldiers fought their way through the station's corridors. "Stay together," Kelly shouted as they reached the prison section. Inside, they found thousands of captured beings from various species, all waiting to have their brains harvested. Among the prisoners was a group of Dorzak warriors. Their leader, Commander Grack, could barely stand when Kelly broke open his cell. "You came for us?" he asked in disbelief. "Why risk your lives?" "Because that's what humans do," Kelly said simply. "We don't leave people behind." The rescue mission succeeded, but the station's self-destruct system activated. As they ran for their ships, part of the ceiling collapsed, trapping the Dorzak commander. Without hesitation, Kelly ran back and lifted the heavy debris. She carried the wounded alien 3 kilometers through enemy territory to reach their escape ship. Later, in the medical bay, Commander Grack looked at Kelly with new respect. "I always thought humans were cowards," he admitted. "But today, you showed more courage than any warrior I know." Kelly shrugged. "There's a difference between being afraid and being careful." Humans plan for the worst while hoping for the best. That's not cowardice, it's wisdom. As Operation Backstop continued, more victories came. The other species began to see that what they had mocked as human paranoia had actually saved them all from extinction. Ambassador Carol Martinez walked into the Concord Assembly Chamber. The room was packed with representatives from all 17 species. Just 1 month ago, they had laughed at humans. Now, they listened in silence. The military campaign is only half the battle, Carol told them. We need to work together if we want to win this war. The large screen behind her showed maps of Nexus movements. The enemy was still advancing, but slower now, thanks to human tactics. Human history is filled with threats that almost destroyed us, Carol continued. What you called cowardice was really preparation. What you saw as paranoia was survival instinct. The Valari Supreme Commander, Zorn, stood up. His blue skin looked pale from stress and lack of sleep. How can we help? He asked simply. The room fell silent at his humility. The proud Valari never asked for help. Carol smiled. We need to share all our knowledge. Each species has unique strengths. Together, we can be stronger than any single approach. Over the next few days, humans taught other species their military tactics. Commander Alan Parker led training sessions for alien officers. In human history, the most dangerous animals weren't the biggest or strongest. He explained to a classroom of mixed species. They were the most adaptable. The Nexus thinks like a predator. We need to think like survivors. The aliens listened carefully, taking notes. They practiced human-style hit-and-run attacks. They learned to plan for failure even while working for success. Meanwhile, alien scientists shared their technology with humans. The Eridani showed Dr. Lisan Nguyen how their crystal communications could avoid Nexus detection. The Valari engineers helped improve human ship engines. On the front lines, species fought side by side. Human soldier Ben Foster saved a Nexian child during an evacuation. Dorzak warriors protected human medical teams. Slowly, respect grew between the former rivals. Not everyone changed easily. Some Valari officers still refused to follow human orders. Some humans still distrusted alien intentions, but necessity pushed them together. In the 4th week of fighting, a major battle happened at Rigel Colony. Human Captain Maria Lopes commanded a mixed fleet of 27 ships. Her second-in-command was Valari Officer Trell. The Nexus is adapting to our EM pulses, Trell warned as they approached the enemy fleet. Maria nodded. Then we'll try something new. Your people have sonic weapons, right? Yes, but they're short range, Trell replied. Perfect. We'll use human long-range weapons to create a gap. Then your ships can move in with sonic weapons. The plan worked perfectly. Human ships broke the Nexus formation, and Valari vessels finished the attack. It was the biggest victory yet. After the battle, Maria found Trell in the ship's dining area. That was good thinking, the Valari admitted. My people would have just attacked directly. Maria smiled, and my people might have stayed too far back. Together, we found the perfect balance. Back at Concord headquarters, Ambassador Carol worked tirelessly to strengthen the alliance. She met with each species, listening to their fears and ideas. Humanity has nearly destroyed itself multiple times, she told the Concord Assembly. Each time, we learned and adapted. Now we must all learn together. The Eridani representative, Silra, supported her. For 50,000 years, my people remembered the last Nexus invasion. We should have shared this knowledge sooner. Perhaps human caution would have rubbed off on us. Slowly, the combined forces pushed back the Nexus. For every world the enemy took, the Alliance reclaimed another. The tide of war began to turn. In her private quarters, Carol looked at pictures of Earth. She missed the blue skies and green forests of home. But she knew this fight was for all homes on all worlds. We're proving them wrong, she said quietly to herself. Not by being the strongest or the bravest, but by being the most prepared. Outside her window, Ships from all 17 species moved in formation, practicing the battle plans that humans had created years before anyone knew they would be needed. The cowardly humans were teaching the galaxy that sometimes the most courageous act was planning for the worst while working for the best. Dr. Frank Collins stared at the strange device on his lab table. After weeks of studying captured Nexus technology, he had made a breakthrough. "It's a neural disruptor," he explained to Admiral Susan Wright. "It can break the connection between Nexus ships without destroying them." Susan picked up the small silver device, "So we could disable their fleet without killing them all." Frank nodded. "The Nexus is one giant mind spread across thousands of ships. This can cut that connection." The Admiral's face was serious. "Is it liberation or genocide? They're one being after all." "We're not killing them," Frank said firmly. "We're stopping them from killing others. There's a difference." The plans for what they called Operation Firebreak began to take shape. Scientists from all 17 species worked day and night to create enough neural disruptors for the final push. Meanwhile, the combined fleet prepared for the most difficult mission yet, an attack on the Nexus central node. Hidden in a strange pocket of space, this was the heart of the enemy's intelligence. Captain John Miller, who had led the first contact mission years earlier, now commanded the flagship of the United Armada. Ships from every Concord species gathered under his leadership. "This will be unlike any battle we fought," he told the assembled captains in a holographic meeting. "The Nexus expects a direct attack with overwhelming force. Instead, we'll use precision." He showed them the battle plans. Small, fast ships would slip through the Nexus defenses while larger vessels created a distraction. "They expect a hammer," John said. "We'll be a scalpel." The Valari captain, Trell, studied the plans. "This is very human." John smiled slightly. "Yes, it is. And that's why it will work." As the fleet prepared, doubt began to spread. Some captains wondered if the plan was too complex. Others feared the neural disruptor wouldn't work. John called a private meeting with the worried leaders. "Fear is natural," he told them. "Humans feel it too. The difference is that we plan for it. We've created 3 backup plans in case this one fails." The aliens looked surprised. 3? "Actually, 5, John admitted. "But let's focus on making the first one work." The day of the attack arrived. The combined fleet jumped into position around the strange space pocket where the Nexus central node hid. "Begin Phase 1, John ordered. Large battleships from the Valari and Dorzak fleets moved forward, firing at the outer Nexus defense line. The enemy responded exactly as predicted, sending their ships to meet the threat. "Phase 2, John said calmly. Small, fast human ships slipped through the gap, carrying teams of scientists and soldiers. Among them was Dr. Lisa Nguyen, who had insisted on delivering the neural disruptor personally. "We need to place it at the exact center of their network," she had explained. 1 degree off, and it won't work." The battle raged for 14 hours. Every time the Nexus adapted to one tactic, the Alliance switched to another. When electromagnetic disruption failed, the Eridanes crystal technology provided a new approach. When subspace defenses blocked one path, the Valari's advanced engines found another. On board the main Nexus node, Lisa and her team fought their way to the central chamber. The walls pulsed with strange light, and voices whispered in their minds. "It's trying to connect to our brains," warned an Eridani scientist. Lisa checked her protective helmet. "Stay focused. We're almost there." In the center of the chamber stood a massive structure like a brain made of metal and living tissue. Tubes and wires spread out from it in all directions. "That's it," Lisa said. "The central consciousness." She approached carefully, carrying the neural disruptor. The brain structure seemed to sense her presence. Tendrils reached toward her. "Now," she shouted, activating the device. A pulse of energy spread outward from the disruptor, washing over the Nexus brain. The tendrils froze. The whispering voices fell silent. Throughout the galaxy, Nexus ships suddenly stopped moving. Their coordinated attack patterns broke apart. Back on the flagship, John watched the screens as enemy ships drifted aimlessly. "It worked," he said quietly. "They're disconnected." The combined fleet moved in to secure the disabled ships. The battle was over, but the hard work of rebuilding was just beginning. As John looked at the victory reports, he thought about how far they had come. The species that once mocked humans as cowards now followed human battle plans. The tactics that seemed like paranoia had saved the galaxy. The path to victory had been paved with human caution and alien courage working together. 3 months after the final battle, leaders from all species gathered on the rebuilt Concord capital world. The Great Hall was decorated with symbols from each of the 17 worlds. Captain John Miller stood by the window, looking at the ships in orbit. Nearly a third of the combined fleet had been lost in the fight against the Nexus. His own ship, the Intrepid, had survived, but many good friends had not. "Thinking about them?" asked Dr. Lisa Nguyen, joining him. John nodded. Captain Wilson and the Defiant crew. They gave everything. They saved millions, Lisa reminded him gently. The ceremony began with a moment of silence for the fallen. Then Ambassador Gental of the Valari approached the center stage. Her blue skin seemed brighter, her head crest proud again. "Today we honor courage in all its forms," she said, "including the kind we once failed to recognize." She turned to the human delegation and made a deep, formal bow, the highest sign of respect in Valari culture. "We misjudged your species," she admitted to the crowd. "What we saw as cowardice was wisdom. What we thought was paranoia was preparation." Ambassador Carol Martinez accepted the gesture with grace. "The lesson isn't that humans were right and everyone else was wrong," she replied. "It's that we are stronger together." Humans brought caution. The Valari brought bravery. The Eridani brought wisdom. Together, we won. After the speeches, the leaders signed a new treaty. The Galactic Concord would change. Human-style threat assessment would become standard practice. Training academies would teach Earth's methods of preparation alongside Valari courage and Dorzak strength. In a quiet corner of the celebration, John found himself speaking with a strange being, one of the disconnected Nexus entities that had chosen peaceful integration with the Concord. "You knew we were coming," the being said in its odd musical voice. "How?" John thought about it. "We didn't know you specifically would come. We just knew something might. Humans have nearly destroyed ourselves many times. It taught us to be careful." The others called this cowardice. The Nexus noted. "They did," John agreed. "But there's an old human saying, better to be a live dog than a dead lion." The being tilted its head. "I do not understand." "It means courage without wisdom leads to the grave," John explained. "Bravery is good, but not if it gets everyone killed." In the years that followed, humanity's reputation changed completely. The term human caution became a compliment, not an insult. The 17 species worked together to rebuild damaged worlds and create better defenses. New alien cadets studied Earth history to learn how humans had survived their own wars and near extinctions. Humans learned alien technologies and cultures. The exchange made all of them stronger. 5 years later, when strange readings appeared at the edge of known space, the Concord didn't ignore them. Instead, they sent research ships with proper protection. They prepared multiple plans. They worked together. "This is what we were preparing for all along," John told Lisa as they watched the new combined fleet depart. "Not just to survive one threat, but to build something better afterward." The cowardly humans had indeed proven everyone wrong, not through force or pride, but by showing that sometimes the bravest thing is to look before you leap and to help others do the same. The end.